We now start our section, and I'm happy to present our first speaker, the PhD and head of the Department of Youth Scientific Policy, Scientific Innovation and International Research of the Department of Innovation and Education Science of the university named after the first president of Russia, Yeltsin, Denis Brusilovsky, How to Avoid Plagiarism when Writing Scientific Articles and books and promote your work on digital platforms. Hello to all of the participants of the conference. I'm happy to be speaking here. My topic is named after the foreword of one of the scientific works, which says that the cheating does not pay off, and I think that it is a very pertinent phrase today in our country and throughout the world. I hope that my slides are on the screen already.
Презентация, видно. Зачем вообще находить плагиат?
Why should we search for plagiarism? Why are we here today at this conference and speak out? Software for plagiarism detection, anti-plagiat and others. It decreases the risk of retraction of articles and protects the reputation of editors and publishers. I would not like one of the unfinished articles or bad articles be published and included into indexes, this is Association of Science Editors and Publishers. They have a special index quoting plagiarism detection results. And of course, if you publish an article which is later retracted, it influences your reputation and the authority of the publisher. Plagiarism in scientific research is a very serious issue. It should be considered on the societal and governmental level. It requires a lot of work. Some of the programs provide quality defense against these mechanisms, but at the same time we know that retraction and financing of research demand a lot of resources, and financial as well as human, and it engenders various difficulties. In Russia, anti-plagiat, anti-plagiarism software is one of the most common ones to be used. How do we find plagiarism? Publishers assess works using different tools, Turnitin, MyDropbox, etc., which help to detect plagiarism. There are various programs and tools. It is important to understand specifics of various tools. Free of charge and paywall tools are very broadly used in universities, at schools, and in other educational institutions. But of course, these tools sometimes make mistakes. However, they provide us with a very important method to detect plagiarism.
Что еще важно? Нужно понимать, что рано или
It
поздно
is important to understand that if you
текста, это вам
plagiarize something,
потому что
it will be detected.
не стоит,
Do not risk it.
потому что это влияет
It
на
is
вас,
not worth it because
на вас как на учёного.
it impacts your authority, your reputation. Even if you plagiarize something and then you
Вот
practice absolute integrity, it will impact your authority. If you do well, some of your previous works might interest the public.
Меня что удивило? Недавно я перечитывал
I was surprised
статьи и заметки.
recently when rereading Likachev.
Как написать
He cites 10 reasonings of the plagiator, and I would like to quote here 5 of them. Plagiarism is a something that is everywhere. The first point is everyone knows that. Why should I cite the source? The other one, I referenced this author without referencing him or her. Another point is he plagiarized it himself or herself. So if you copy something from an unverified source, it is still plagiarism. Creating new terms and new words for known terms is still a very dangerous ground. Another point is I have a different material and I have offered different formulas. It is still plagiarism. So please remember all that. These databases that we use are constantly updated, so please check yourself. How do we respect ethical norms? I would suggest doing 3 things. From my own experience, if you read something important for your work, try to make notes from memory using your own words. If you do that, then check yourself by assuring that you used your own words, but you gathered all the ideas correctly.
Чтобы всегда было ясно, какие...
If you work on a manuscript, highlight parts that are referencing other sources, using commas or other signs. And the third one, reread yourself. Reread yourself. Do not hope that you can write it without checking yourself. You can improve your style. You can check the structure. You can also check for mistakes and for unlawful borrowings, if I might say.
Автор оставляет целые абзацы своей работы нетронутыми, то проблема у него гораздо глубже, просто заимствование. То есть ты видишь,
you leave big parts of your text untouched, then something is wrong. Then you are working
Почему?
In a non-correct way. Yuri Chekhovich said today that anti-plagiat includes now a feature to check the structure of the text, and I'm very happy about that because structure is a very important part of scientific work, and I studied the slides that Anton presented, and I think that the scientific community will be very happy about that. We use common structures, the IMRAD structures for scientific work, and we can follow trace the development of various ways to approach the structure in the scientific work, and the check for the innovations. And I'm very happy about that. Even if you look at the Nature publications, you can see that there are a lot of new things and transformations, and I'm very interested in observing them. Now, I used to do that in the past, and now I can see that software tools are adapting to these innovations. If you reread yourself, you can structure your text better. If a person knows how to structure, they know why are they performing their work. The structure will be better if you are willing to revise the deep structure of the text, and this is where this new anti-plagiat feature can be very useful. Please be aware that it does not favor plagiarism, as one of the listeners asked. It is not like that. I do not think it is right. I think it teaches students, children, be fairer, be clearer in their intentions, and be finally, eventually better. And we can see that scientific community changes its perception in the development of the science in general, thanks to anti-plagiat. What is self-quotation? Of course, you cannot plagiarize from yourself, but you can copy something from your previous work. Please be kind and reference your previous work. If your new work continues the line of your previous work, please reference your old work. Responsibility of delineating your old and your new results encumbers to the author. The publisher is not responsible for that. Only the author is responsible for that. You can do this explicitly, writing like my previous work shows this or that, and now we measure that or this, or implicitly by using the quotes. So the self-quotation is one of the important issues now. It is quite a challenge. And I was rereading one of the documents for publishers and translators for one of the European associations, and they were using terms such as reprocessing of the content, not plagiarism. And it is an interesting thing to notice how terms change. I think this conference is also contributing to this development of the field. How do we use anti-plagiat easily? But it is important to understand that a tool is just a tool. It's not an expert. In some of the universities, they ask how many percent of the original. I think it is funny. I do not think it's it's lawful to ask for the percentage because there should be no plagiarism detected at all. If you read or reread your work and you notice something that can be discussed, you can address experts. Anti-plagiat is a huge helping tool for me. We're now working on manuals and books, and anti-plagiat provides a very valuable method, instrument for me. We can address it while searching for the primary sources, for example. We can check the self-quotation box to check for these parts. Well, all I want to say that if you use a tool, then you have to know how to use it, right? And please think for yourself. Be experts as you are, or address someone who has this expertise. How to place an article into international databases. Well, the easiest way is to publish it in the indexed journal. You can also publish in the local regional journals. If your institutions have scientific departments which are included into the databases, regional or international, feel free to address them. Please choose secure journals so your article won't be retracted. First, you choose a journal, and following their guidelines, you can prepare an article. Some people prefer writing first and then search for the journal and change the structure if necessary. Well, I prefer the first way, you know, to find the database of the journal and then to prepare an article according to their norms and requirements, to be sure to write something that they can accept. To get into a leading scientific journal, it is important to follow all the requirements, to know the pertinent sources for your area of expertise, and to check for plagiarism before sending the article. Well, please do not be lazy. Do this before. If there's something open to discussion, check and recheck it multiple times. Do not use unknown sources in your articles. Do not use something from Wikipedia or internet if you're not sure that this is a trustworthy source. Well, another important thing is the following. It is important to understand while writing that you have to respect the ethics of the quotation. Please follow the rules. Do not do something that is prohibited. You know, do not use the whole article in full in your work, whether it's been publishing or not. Do not plagiarize the full text, even by changing every 10th or 20th word. Do not borrow or plagiarize the structure of another article, because it will anyway be visible, indetectable. Do not plagiarize someone's style, even if you are translating.
Здесь много вопросов, потому что система антиплагиат совершенствуется.
Anti-plagiat system becoming more and more refined, and
автора не относится к защищенным законам
and we know that individual style is not protected by law, but
описание, конечно, можно использовать,
still
и совершенствовать свой.
it is better to cultivate, your own style. Do not copy paragraphs, pages of others' work. I have seen it quite a lot. Do not appropriate phrases from others' work. Please put borrowed sentences between quote marks. Science people have quite a lot of challenges, but remember, it's your responsibility to respect the norms. Please remember that you can prevent something in your field. You can protect your own work, and you can protect others from plagiarizing. There are several platforms supporting AI. There is no fixed description of what it is, but there are some of them who you can see on the slide. And you can use these platforms and repositories, Open Door, Figshare, Figshare Plus, for example, and exchange big data. We live in the era of big data. Please remember that. These repositories developed in Russia and throughout the world, and they help to protect the materials, they help to stock and keep and protect your material before the publication. So please remember about repositories, social networks, everything that you can to promote your scientific work in our digital era. Another important thing that I wanted to share with you. Please rewrite your sketches if you do not feel the text is ready. You can do this multiple times, and if, for example, a proofwriter indicates that there are some things that are not clear, then most of the times they won't be clear for the reader. So please check and listen to others. Sometimes authors edit their own work for 15 times before sending it for publication, and it's fine. And we all have our own rhythm of work, and please do not let others undermine our self-esteem while creating an article or a book. Well, you communicate with a lot of people, and of course the process involves a lot of actors. To promote your work, you need a lot of people: agents, editors, publishers, and proof readers, translators, illustrators, readers, PR specialists, bloggers, booksellers, etc.
автору придется общаться с
throughout this journey from the manuscript to the book, an author communicates with a lot of people. We can see that Russian Science Citation Index changed the IMRAD standards, and we can see that the development of this typical structure from the 1970s up to 2020s, we can see that the evolution is happening. Please do not repeat your own ideas if it is not absolutely necessary, because some people want to read you to trust you and to get new information from you. If you have your own audience, use it to promote your work, because the PR marketing budgets are very often quite limited.
Можно подумать, вот стоит ли вам самим научиться
Do you want to sell your own works?
Отследите конкурирующие и дополняющие на сайтах книжных магазинов.
You follow your competition. It is important to understand that.
Я хотел под конец сказать и отметить особо. Сейчас мы по различным темам огромное количество.
Finalize my speech, I would like to say that we prepared a manual.
Помог тоже этот момент мы осветили. У нас выйдет «Пиши, публикуй, продвигай».
We will soon publish a book, Write, Publish, Promote, about the publication and promotion of scientific works. This conference is very pertinent for us. Over the years, we have been participating in quite a lot of conferences, and our staff and my colleagues, we've been improving our skills and communicating with colleagues, and it's quite a nice thing to have. Thank you for your attention. Happy to answer your questions.
За очень интересный доклад.
Thank you for quite an interesting talk, and I always listen to you with great interest. And we have several questions.
Задать их.
Let me try to ask them to you. Valentina,
написано до замужества, и автор с девичьей фамилией. Программа работы как плагиат.
Deal with the fact that one work can be written before marriage and others after, and the maiden name works are indicating the self-citation as plagiarism. Some of the tools can contain features to indicate that you have changed your family name. There's a digital object identifier, DOI, right? To use for that, we have this scientific database identifier, and you can use these identifiers and put them into program to identify them as yours, to write it down into the database, you know, that they are yours. In the West, there are several tools for that, and it is starting to develop in our area. You can quote the codes for the profile that you need to secure the situation.
Чтобы сделать возможность эти коды подтаскивать автоматически.
Yes, I hope that into anti-plagiat we will introduce this new tool to be able to self-quote.
Еще вопрос Пеганова Наталья Владимировна.
Another question from Natalia Peganova.
Публикование отражающих содержание статей и самоплагиат.
Особенно
где часто невозможно
in natural sciences are very often published with with quotation marks, but these are not poems, right? Let me reformulate. How do we deal with the situation when we have to quote large parts from our own work? Well,
Действительно, материал это не означает, что вы должны слово в слово у кого-то что-то перечислить.
Indeed. Well, you can also paraphrase quite a big passage in your own words. You don't need to use quotation marks. And of course, you have to add a reference. If it's somebody else's idea and you paraphrase them, this is a boundary moment for any scientist. You are welcome to paraphrase this information and add a reference if you paraphrase somebody else's idea. But at the same time, you have to understand the extent to which you use somebody else's material. Your work has to be original. If we are talking about a thesis, you're welcome to use paraphrases, quotations, well, around 15-20% of that, and around 70-80% of the text should be original, your original research. If you need to use a reference, you don't need to go at length. You can add a reference and anybody else will read the reference. Sorry, the question was different. It was about self-citation. So it's about the need to quote one's own articles. Well, this is indeed a problematic issue. If I understand it right, at least from our experience, you have to add a reference to your own article. And it can give rise to some problems. Self-citation is better framed as a quotation because otherwise you need a permission from the editorial that published your journal. And everything depends on the contract you signed. If you have a permission from the journal and you never signed any documents about the rights, then of course you're welcome to use the text. And again, it all depends on the volume. So this is the first aspect of the problem. Many PhD students use their own works, but they need to add references anyway. I mean, there is no article published by a single person because reviewers, editors, they all take part in the creation of the text. This is why the reference has to be added. You need to show that this is not the first publication of this text. So this is the first problem, copyright. You're most welcome to add a reference. You don't need to copy-paste the whole text. But then again, the experts who will check your work, they won't have anything against that. Or if they do, you can always turn to anti-plagiarism representatives. They will help with it. Yes, indeed, we very often have to add comments on that. I can share from my personal experience that there may be difficult issues indeed. For example, when we publish postdoc papers that take a lot more time than a normal PhD, there are some of the articles published before can already have their own lives. They can be referenced, cited. For that, I suggest the following thing. At the beginning of the section of your paper, please indicate that initially this material was published somewhere, adding the reference. And if you know any other facts of your article having been used, please indicate that. If the article was published in co-authorship, please indicate your input. So please indicate that at the beginning of the section, then you will be honest. You don't need the quotation marks here.
Юрий Викторович, если позволите, вопрос,
Конечно.
конечно, разрешения соавторы. То есть не все соавторы потом дают разрешение, если бы вклад авторов...
And then again, if it was in co-authorship, then you have to negotiate with other authors. Not all co-authors permit the usage of their materials. And if other authors are not indicated, it can give rise to many more problems. Yes, that's true. We know such examples when one of the same article was used in different theses.
Суммирование давало существенно больше 100%. То есть там, допустим, 61, 62, 63, и уже получилось немного больше 100.
And all authors indicated that all of them contributed around 60% to the text published, and there were 3 of them. So if we put it all together, it's a lot more than 100%. Yes, it can be problematic. Thank you very much